Hi folks, this is your MWIS Planning Outlook with the latest longer range details. This time last week we were looking ahead to some very hot weather in the outlook. This is the week ahead temperature anomaly and things are still on the warmer side of average through this time, although nowhere near as hot as we saw during last weekend, and a more unsettled trend with lower pressure in charge as well. We don't look like repeating the very hot weather anytime soon. In fact, in the later part of July, temperatures are suggested to be a little bit below the seasonal averages, with a more changeable west or southwesterly flow in charge. Here's how things are looking on the charts, and Wednesday puts us between weather situations really, with high pressure to the north and the south and areas of low pressure east and west. The remnants of Tuesday's rain system clearing away broadly into Europe, but the leftovers of a front producing some bits and pieces of patchy light rain across the borders, the North Pennines early in the day, and the legacy of that moisture can just produce one or two showers during the daytime, but many places seeing a fine day with some variable cloud lifting to clear most of the hills, and many will stay dry right the way through. The wind fairly light overall, a bit breezy around the Pennines early in the day, but then easing back. Looking away toward the southwest, we've got another frontal system approaching. That will just encroach toward the southwest of Wales late on in the day. That's the warm front, will tend to move its way north-eastwards then across the country into Thursday, introducing a lot of low cloud, drizzly bits and pieces of rain around the hills near the Irish Sea and pushing up the west coast of Scotland as well. Starting off dry, particularly across the north and the northeast, and here it may well stay dry well on into the afternoon, but around the West Highlands in particular turning wetter increasingly as that frontal system comes in. Best of cloud breaks then overall will be north of the Cairngorms and toward the far north of the northwest Highlands. Temperatures once more on the fairly warm side, increasingly windy conditions around the west coast as well as that low pressure system approaches. As we roll things on into Friday, the cold front associated with that system bringing some heavier rain will push further into Scotland from the west and getting closer to the western hills of England and Wales through the night as well. And that frontal zone will produce some variable bursts of rain throughout Friday daytime. It's weakening as it's pushing east, but still some rain on and off, and an odd heavier, even thundery burst possibly popping up, particularly around the northeast Pennines into the borders through the afternoon hours. Bits and pieces of rain on and off across Scotland through the daytime, again rather cloudy, that's shrouding the hills across south and west facing areas much of the time. Some improvement just coming through across Wales from the west behind that front, cloud bases rising slowly, and likewise for the Lake District, just some improvements here through the afternoon. Fairly breezy across the hills, the wind if anything just tending to drop somewhat through the daytime, and temperatures staying on the warm side. It's a messy weather situation that takes us onwards into the weekend. An area of low pressure still circulating away to the west of us, and areas of rain too across northern France will start to push northwards through into Friday night and Saturday. Complications then in the story. The basic message is one of being rather unsettled with the risk of some rain, some heavier bursts, even some thundery showers in the mix onwards into the weekend. One zone of rain trying to push up the eastern half of England. That again is open to some question on the extent of that at this stage for Saturday. For Scotland, it could well be that Saturday morning looks pretty reasonable before some rain pivots in from the southeast and sets in and turns heavier. Just watch the detail in the forecast. Things are subject to changes in the pattern at this time, but rain is expected in the forecast at the very least. And the further we go through the weekend, lower pressure moves more over the top of us, becoming centred largely further toward the south and west, which brings the greatest risk of heavier and thundery downpours into England and Wales in particular on Sunday, but still areas of rain pivoting across northwards into Scotland as well. Some increasingly blustery winds associated with that low across the southwest of Britain, lighter winds further northwards, a really complicated mess then with some heavy and thundery downpours as mentioned through that forecast on Sunday. So do be prepared for that and have the waterproofs handy. Into the start of next week, and fairly low pressure is still nearby and some further thundery showers breaking out increasingly as the day goes on. The pattern trend for next week seems to take low pressure more toward the north, and we're looking at more of a west or southwesterly airflow coming in, which gives us a mixed weather story really, with areas of rain or drizzle coming in from the west, most frequent into western Scotland, some occasional patchy light rain further southwards as well, mostly Western Hills, Lake District to North Wales, amounts fairly small. Some days we'll see drier conditions, other days we'll see some rain a bit more frequent. Depends whether we just get a ridge of high pressure around or we're nearer to low pressure. Day-to-day detail uncertain, but that sort of changeable mix I think will set the scene for next week, with temperatures around average, a little bit warm and humid still at times. That changeable mix is probably where we continue onwards towards the end of the month and the start of August, with this map showing the pressure pattern average for that week as a whole, and it suggests that higher than average pressure is just north of the Azores, not really extending fully towards or across us though, and instead we're seeing that more mixed westerly regime that's in. So Western Scotland is more likely to see some frequent cloud and some rain at times. Further east and further southwards, a greater chance of drier days, but always interspersed with an odd day where some rain is in the forecast. So a mixed pattern, maybe a rather breezy pattern quite a lot of the time as well. High pressure, if anything, is just trying to push a bit further northwards, further into the first 10 days of August. It may then just tip the wind flow around somewhat more to a northwesterly. It keeps things then maybe just on the slightly cooler side. Could just be that high starts to make more inroads though and gives us some drier weather, but I think some showers still expected to be in the forecast and no immediate suggestion there of heatwave conditions returning further through August, and there's no real signal for a strong high pressure. Instead, I think again this kind of mixed westerly regime is probably the one that would prevail. Some heavy and thundery rain though in the outlook for this weekend. Keep up to date with the local details on our website. Thanks for watching today. Bye for now.